It's been cool to see how Jordan Poole has elevated his game this season. In many ways, he's the prototype of a new school player and killing it. Creative, shot maker, versatile, fluid, so I'll break it all down. Let's start with his general ball handling or attacking ability. Number one, he generally plays at a higher level or height, which is just the way he moves. But it's impressive that he also has a very surprising ability to get into these low positions as he's handling the ball. This takes a certain level of mobility, of course, but also the control of his mobility, to be strong in these positions. And his ability to play at any level or height gives him a ton of freedom. Next, you'll notice how frequently he uses in and outs, and how he does it in a pretty unique way at times. As I mentioned regarding heights, he'll do some where he's high up, and some where he drops into these really low positions. And then some where he goes from high to low. All of these are good in different situations. I also noticed that he really likes using it to explode out. A lot of players have certain movements or setups that they feel really comfortable with exploding, and this is that for Poole. Many times he'll pretty much throw it out in front of him and catch up to it. And this helps him use that speed to explode past defenders. Another nice tool in his arsenal are these little hop counters, where both feet hit at the same time. To me, this is a really good way to change direction and rhythm, and being good at it opens up options in terms of sharply changing direction. He's also crazy good at navigating small spaces. This to me is a product of being in control at high speeds, but also being creative enough to do things like going back through his leg, slice through defenders, or whatever it may be. In the NBA, you're not navigating tight spaces much around the paint, but if you're watching this as a high school, college, or pro player outside of the NBA, this is a skill you'll definitely need. You'll notice too that on many of his in and out or crossover based moves, he's really exaggerating that trunk rotation. So he's fully turning his body before rotating back the other direction to explode. This helps him sell that move. He's also really good at floating the ball in his hand as he moves, legally of course, to minimize his dribbles. Here he takes 4 steps with 1 dribble, for example. And a lot of the time you'll see him float that ball out of an in and out, or really any move to cover more ground. And it's because he just doesn't have to worry about putting the ball on the ground. And yes, this is legal if the ball doesn't stop moving or go on top of his hand. And to accompany this, he's very comfortable fully relaxing and then speeding up from there. Many younger players aren't able to get to this point where they're just chilling with that dribble because it does feel a bit weird at first. But when you're able to fully slow down and in that relaxed state, defenders aren't expecting much. So when he does explode past, they're constantly caught off guard. And his movement and ball handling abilities really come in big as he's playing off the pick and roll too, which is actually his best action statistically. He's crazy good at coming in from very high in these pick and rolls to develop some speed into it. With this speed, he's able to either just beat that defender downhill or put them on their heels in a tough situation. A lot of coaches teach coming in from below that screen, but why not generate some speed into that screen? And then whether he has that speed or not, he's a big fan of using that outside-inside footwork coming off to get into threes. Most times it's almost out of necessity because if he takes one more step, he'll probably be in the mid-range. But it also throws off that defender's timing since they're expecting one more step into that inside-outside footwork. Speaking of this and moving on to his perimeter game, he's very, very conscious about getting back to the three-point line. So even when he enters the mid-range, he's very creative with ways to get back a few feet and make it 3 points. Side steps, floats, all that. I also think being in such a free team culture plus having freedom with Steph being out has really helped him develop some confidence to shoot these crazy shots. Some of these are definitely ballsy, but that's a sign of a high confidence player. But he's also seemed to master the easy. He's been an amazing fit within the offense. He moves well, he's patient but aggressive, he has a quick enough release, and he knows how to play off of the other weapons they have. So his spot up game is very, very good too. And because of this, he's gotten really good at attacking these late closeouts that happen so often. Let's talk about his finishing around the rim now. Number one, he's really good at taking these long strides around the bucket. This helps him use his length to sneak through defenders or in small spaces. But these can be done multi-directionally too, maybe outward to avoid defenders, inwards or towards the basket to get in front.
But it doesn't look like a Terminator, which is even more confusing.
On the other side of that spectrum, sometimes he'll get that finish up on the backboard insanely quickly. So he'll shorten his strides, pop up off the ground quickly and have the control to get that ball onto the backboard with a soft touch. He's also pretty frequently using these one-hand pickups where the other hand is free to shield defenders. It's a really quick finish because it doesn't require time to grab it with two hands, and it doesn't even have to be the entire pickup. He could even just start it off with one hand to buy him a bit more time to create contact with that opposite hand. Next, he's great at carrying speed through the finish. Many players will naturally slow down when they're moving at a high speed because they can't produce or sustain that much force off of one leg, and since they slow down, that defender can slightly catch up. Not Poole though. He's amazing at carrying speed into and through the finish. Now with this comes covering a ton of ground on the jump most times. So he'll jump from further out to work with this, so he's not jumping essentially past the basket. And what's even more impressive is that many athletes who are good at this have trouble jumping off of 2 feet too. Yet he looks very comfortable coming in at different speeds and different angles and still getting up off of 2 feet for the finish. Lastly, he's really good at dealing with imperfection on his finishes. Whether it's losing the ball mid-finish, getting bumped in the air, being off balance, taking a weird angle, whatever it may be, we often train finishing to be extremely clean, ideal finishes. But the best finishers like Poole are able to take any situation and find a way to make it work. So just something to think about how you train for finishing. And then his floater game, which I underrated. He's able to use both hands, he's very controlled. This is a great option to have, even being so good around the rim. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and took something from this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at By Any Means Basketball for a lot more. And also make sure to check out the Virtual Academy, where we have the most comprehensive training programs you'll find online. Thanks for tuning in.